Button pushed.
Push the button, Fred. We used to have a tape group that we danced in every week, and the guy that was nearest the tape that could stop it when we got into trouble was always Fred. So the expression became, push the button, Fred. So welcome to CALLERLAB. Today is Monday, April the 10th, right? Did I get that right? This is the 44th CALLERLAB convention in Mesa, Arizona in 2017. My name is Barry Clasper, and I'm well, we're sort of co-presenters, so technically I guess I'm the moderator. And my co-panelist is Dottie Welch. And the reason we're presenting is because between the two of us, we are working on a couple of websites that CALLERLAB is putting out into the wild. I have actually presented the knowledge base, which is the one that I built, last year at a Birds of a Feather. So this is the first time we've done it as a full session during CALLERLAB. Dottie has been working on a thing called the Online Teaching Resource, which is a really impressive piece of work. She did it all with her own hands. And there's also a community dance resource that pulls up all kinds of community dances that can be used for party nights and that kind of choreography. So I'll talk for a few minutes about the knowledge base, sort of give you an idea how to get at it, how to navigate your way through it, the kind of stuff that you'll find there. And then I'll hand it over to Dottie, and assuming that my battery hasn't died, she'll be able to demo the sites that she's working with. Any questions before we get started? You're bored already, I can tell. So what you're looking at here is not the knowledge base. When I talk about the knowledge base, I'm talking about this website that I've created. It runs under GoDaddy and it's powered by WordPress, if that means anything to you technical folks out there. And the intent of the knowledge base was to try and capture information that can be used for the betterment of square dancing. And when I pull the site up, you'll see that's actually part of the banner, has that expression on it. It got started back when, you might remember a couple or 3 years ago when I was chairman, we had this brainstorming session. Remember that? And we got all these great ideas, 410 of them, if I remember the number correctly. And I had this, naive impression at the time that we'd be able to take all these ideas and quickly put them into some sort of a spreadsheet that we could share online at the convention, and people would be able to look at them and say, yeah, I like that one and that one, and we'd get something out of it that we could move on. Well, I got like the first 10% of them loaded up into some sort of a spreadsheet, which was useless to anybody but me. So that didn't go anywhere. But when I got home, of course, I started trying to do something with these. At the same time, we've been for years collecting what we call winning ways stories, which had all sort of accumulated into a single PDF document that was buried somewhere on the website, on the CALLERLAB.org website. Nobody knew how to find them or anything, and they'd sort of just gone fallow. So those two things combined sort of sparked me to build this thing I'm now calling the knowledge base, and it's kind of grown from there. But the kind of information that's in there has to do with how do you, if you're thinking about how do I promote square dancing in my area, what kinds of ideas have people had in the past that have worked, you'll find that kind of stuff there. If you're thinking, I as a caller, how can I develop myself further, what kind of materials are available, there's a section for that. If I'm teaching dancers, there's sections about how to lesson plans and lesson systems and things like that. There's documentation about all the sessions from CALLERLAB that have been recorded in the past that are now loaded up on YouTube. There's an index into all of those. We've got 593 of them online now, if I remember the number correctly, and there's another 300 to load, not counting what we're doing this year. So there's a lot of stuff up there, hopefully organized so that you can find it. So the way you find it, there's the URL, knowledge.callerlab.org. Write that down. If you don't go away with anything else from this session, memorize that, knowledge.callerlab.org. And you'll find that when Dottie talks about her sites, they have the same format. One of the community dance one is dances.callerlab.org, and the online teaching one is teaching.callerlab.org. So we've got a consistent format that we're using there. So if you enter that, hopefully when I hit enter something will happen. It didn't because I don't have focus on that. So this is actually a redirect to the real site. Sooner or later, don't bother to memorize that ID because it will change in the fullness of time. So always go to knowledge.callerlab.org. So this is what the site looks like. So you can see it's CALLERLAB knowledge base, sharing ideas and experiences for the betterment of square dancing. That's what this site is all about. Now, the second thing that I'd like you to take away, and I don't want you to forget this either, really, is there are three basic ways to navigate this site. They are all explained on this first page. Read the instructions. I don't want to be getting any emails asking dumb questions about stuff that's on this page. So this page has 4 buttons on it. If you click on the buttons, you get some text that kind of explains how things work. And I know it's kind of confusing when you first pop it up and what the hell's under here and where is everything and how do I navigate. It is all explained under these buttons. So if you click on the About Knowledge Base button, you kind of get the commercial for what the knowledge base is. So I'm not going to bother scrolling down all these words, but that's kind of the elevator pitch about what the knowledge base is. So you can read that so you can sort of understand what the general idea of the site is. A really important one is how to use this knowledge base. And basically, the information that's in here is what I'm going to impart to you in the next 5-10 minutes. So it's there where you can read it. You don't have to take notes. You don't have to really remember too much about what I'm going to say. So all that you need to know to use the knowledge base is there on that first page. Now, what you're looking at, get rid of that. You'll notice that across the top, this is called masthead. Across the top, there are some categories listed. So right now you're looking at the home page. So anytime you click on home, whatever page you go to, you will have this masthead up there. Anytime you click on home, you're coming back here, and you'll see this page. There's a section on promoting square dancing, anything to do with generally promoting square dancing, not a particular club, but in general, how do you make the activity appealing to people? Developing dancers is about how do you teach dancers, how do you recruit dancers, how do you form clubs, all of that sort of information. Developing callers is about how do you train callers, where are caller schools to be found. If you want to know technical information about sight calling or how to write choreography, stuff like that, that's where you'll find it in developing callers. CALLERLAB conventions basically is the indexes into all the recorded stuff that we've got. Winning ways. Remember I said one of the triggers for this was trying to capture the winning ways stories. So they are all in there now as individual stories, searchable, so you can find them. In the past 2 years, we've probably increased our inventory of winning ways stories by about a third over what it was before. So I think we've probably got 100 or so in there now. Some of them are obsolete. I should probably prune them out, and we need more winning ways stories, so let's have them. And this is something I'll show you later. That's just a sort of a different way of looking at the information. So there are 3 ways to navigate this site and find the stuff that you want to find. One is you can dig down through one of these sections, just click on it, and it takes you to another page that gives you a way to navigate through material that's under that kind of general category. Another way is you look over here on the right, this is a thing called a tag cloud. So tags are words that some person, having read the article, right now it's me, but some person having read the article decided this article is about advertising and recruiting dancers and we put those tags on it. So the article is now tagged in a way that if you search on that tag, you will pull this article up. That's different from the search function, which is the third way that you can navigate. Search is exactly what you'd expect. Is you put in some search words and it finds every article that's got those words in it, whether or not those words are actually germane to the topic of the article. So if you're looking for something with specific subject matter, go through the tag cloud. If you're just trying to find everything that might make some tangential reference to something, you can go through the search. And I find as I'm working my way through stuff, I use all three of these methods, just, depending. Sometimes you get different results going down different paths. It's not like there's a huge amount of information in there yet, but you can get at it all kinds of different ways so it looks bigger than it really is. So I'm just going to go through these quickly so you get a rough idea how things work. So remember, this is knowledge.callerlab.org. Had a question?
How come some of the tag words are
Like
big
microphones.
Microphone.
So, well, I'll just repeat your question. The question was, how come some of the words are bigger than others? And that's because the size of the tag gives you some indication of how often it appears in the database. And if you hover over it, like I just did there, you'll see it popped up and it said 38 topics. That means there are 38 articles in the database that have the tag advertising on them. And the fact that they have the tag means that they're actually talking about advertising in some way, or they have some section of whatever it is that talks about advertising. They don't just happen to have the word advertising appearing in the text in some non-relevant way. So, well, let's go down that route since you took me down that route. So, if I was interested in finding things about advertising that had to do with advertising, I could click on this tag. Hopefully something happens. There it goes. The internet here is not particularly robust, which is why the demo may be a little abbreviated. So what's happened is we clicked on the advertising tag and we've gone to a new screen. You notice it says here, I'm showing you everything that has the tag advertising. You'll notice that the tag cloud stayed there. So whatever screen you go to, you will always have the tag cloud, you'll always have this banner across the top. So that's how you can navigate your way around, even after you start digging your way through the innards of it. This is what the articles in the database look like. Most of them are just short descriptions of something that actually lives elsewhere. So this first one, this is an article that says, why should we care about online marketing? And it's a document. A document means it's something like a book or a report or something we found in a newsletter. It's that sort of information. So it's a class of information. That's all the article type means. And the author is Claudia Littlefair, who happens to be sitting right here. Thank you, Claudia. And it shows the publication date. And there's a link here to online marketing, which you can click to go to the actual article. And here's a little description of what the article is. Now, it's important to understand that when you do a search, you're actually searching on the information that is in this article in my database. You're not searching the information that's in the article itself if it's elsewhere. So let's just click on that to see what happens. Hopefully it'll happen fast. So if you click on it, here's the actual article that appeared in a newsletter that Claudia writes. Great newsletter, by the way. I suggest you all subscribe. And it's all about why we should care about using online marketing. And so it's about advertising and promoting square dancing. It probably appears under a number of different tags, this same article. So we're not going to go through the actual content in any great detail. And that was just the first one. if we start scrolling down, you'll see a bunch of articles that all sort of have the same general format. Some of them are different types of articles. So you'll notice that some of them are listed as a winning ways story. So that means that here's a winning ways story that actually had things to say about advertising. That's why it's tagged with advertising. Media articles on square dancing is what we call a summary. So that means that somebody has looked at information that was sitting around either in the database or elsewhere and decided that they would write some sort of article that brought it all together in one place so that you could look at it as kind of a report. And that's what these summary articles document. So you'll see the description says the summary article contains a table, see below, that points to a number of media articles. And if you click on that, you pop up a table that shows media articles. Some of them are videos from TV, some of them are newspaper articles or magazine articles that we have found that talk about square dancing and hopefully say something positive about it. Any questions so far?
Are you writing the metadata for this thing?
Am I writing the metadata for this thing?
Description.
Yes. Like everything that you're seeing in there now, I wrote so far. So one of the reasons I'm doing these kinds of presentations, I mean, obviously we want to get usage up, but I also want to get be able to find people who are interested enough in this to help me capture information and eventually help me write these articles. The thing is, these articles are not the easiest thing in the world to write. How many people feel comfortable with HTML? Barry holds up his hand. So yeah, if you look at the source for this, HTML tables and links and blah, blah, blah. So if you don't feel comfortable with that kind of thing, then you've got a learning curve to be able to write even one of these little things. But it's not that bad. I'd be happy to train you if you want to get into it. But I don't want to take too much more time sort of browsing this. So that's, if you put in, click on something in the tag cloud there, you'll go to a list of articles like this that I, in this case, have decided have something to do with that tag subject. So that's one way to navigate, going through the tag cloud. The other major way to navigate is by clicking on one of these things in the masthead. So if you click on promoting square dancing, did you go? Just tell sometimes whether it took the click. You go to another page, and this page talks about all the articles that have something to do with promoting square dancing. So this is a category as opposed to a tag, which is a technical distinction you don't really need to care about. This is just another way of looking at some of the same information. And what this homepage shows you, the homepage for promoting square dancing, it shows you a couple of different ways to look at all the articles that are in there. And then it lists the articles in this tabular format in alphabetical order. And that could go on for pages. So if you want to find out if something you're interested in is in there somewhere and you just want to look at titles, you can click on list of article titles and it gives you a big long list. If you click on any one of those, it'll take you to that article. So here's recruit exchange students, which, Sharon Frank came up with this. Many universities and colleges have exchange student programs, so why can't we tie into those? And, maybe offer that as a program to the organization that handles exchange students on a campus, because they're interested in doing something that's associated with our North American culture. You'll notice that the document, or the article type for that is idea. An idea is an article that's been, or is some sort of a thought that I thought was interesting enough that I pulled it out of whatever article it was sitting in. It might have been a Winning Ways story, or it might have been a newspaper article that was pointed to, but something. And I wanted to pull it out so it had a life of its own in the database, because it's an idea. And then you can run with that idea if you want. So let's go to another major masthead. Developing dancers, same sort of format. So these are all articles that have something to do with how do we develop new dancers, how do we find new dancers, how do we form clubs, all of that kind of stuff is in there. And one of the things I like is that the very first thing that pops up, really because numbers are first in the alphabetical sorting list, is 174 prospecting ideas. That I forget who submitted that now, but
Jim Lang did.
Pardon me?
Jim Lang did it.
Jim Lang did it, yeah. He's actually got a document called 174 Prospecting Ideas and the Timberline Toppers Recruiting Plan, which shows in detail how they went about implementing a lot of these ideas and making them work. A tremendous piece of documentation. So I'm just going to go back.
Now,
Question?
the date, that the date of the article or the day it was entered?
It depends. Some of the stuff that I capture has a date. I know what the date is. It was in a newspaper, and in that case, that's what's there. If I don't know what the actual original date of the information was, then it's whenever I entered it. And some of the things are, you know, if it's the table of all the videos that we've got up on YouTube from CALLERLAB conventions, then it's definitely when I entered, the last time I entered it. Any other questions? So let's look at CALLERLAB conventions. Developing callers is sort of the same idea as developing dancers. If we go to CALLERLAB conventions, that's where you'll find the lists of all the audio recordings and the video recordings that we have loaded so far. And this is an ongoing project, so there'll be more and more. So let's go to the audio recordings. That takes you, here's my article that says this is what the audio recordings are all about. But because there's so much information there, I actually tucked it away in a different page. And the reason I do that is because when you're pulling up the navigation streams for tags and the other alternative ways to find information, you get these huge long lists of articles. And if a table with 594 entries in it appears as one of them, you do a lot of scrolling to get to the next article. So that's why some of these sort of have this two-step process to get to them. So it says, click here to see the index page for the audio recordings. And this is what the index page looks like. Now, let's say that you wanted to find a presentation on choreography. So you pull this page up, there are 595 entries in this table. That's a lot of scrolling. They're organized by year and then by subject within the year. If you search by putting a search term in this search box, what will happen is you will search this website. You won't be searching this table. So what will happen is you'll pop up a list of all the articles that have the word, let's say, choreography in them. In which case, it'll take you away from this index. It'll appear as one of the articles, but you're not really advancing your cause of trying to find the word choreography in there. So the way to handle that is to use the browser's find function, which is Control F, pops up a window, and all browsers have some sort of a page find function that, and I think they're almost all, everyone I've seen is triggered by Control F. Would you buy that, Barry? I don't think anybody did anything stupid like making it different.
They're all.
So if,
Yes, that's
unless you're using an Apple, yeah.
that's Apple F.
So if you type in, I just typed in choreo as the search word, and immediately you can see that every place that choreo appears gets highlighted. So that probably wasn't a good one to pick, because there's 288 occurrences of that. But you can see how it would work. You know, if you were looking for something specific, you knew that there was an audio recording on it, or you hoped there was an audio recording on it, you could go to this table, do that kind of a search, and find it. And then if you click on the link here, it takes you to the actual recording. Now, because they're audio recordings,
Not a JL100, I want you to say.
You still have to have some sort of video there, but you're listening to the audio recording.
It's called the Education Committee, and very frankly, the thrust or the direction.
You're listening to Jack Lazary.
CALLERLAB is evolving or moving,
Cool.
the river is winding, is directly more and more involved in this particular area.
Enough nostalgia. I just want to look at winning ways for just a second. As I said, when we, before I put this stuff up, winning ways there was a few of them that were available as independent documents. Most of them were collected together into a single PDF. There was no index, there was no organization to it or anything. It was just go in and find what you can find. So basically I pulled all that apart, made them all separate articles so that you can search them. And it's the same format as the other pages where you've got a list of titles in alphabetical order and a list of titles in reverse date order. So if you know that you're looking for a recent one, you can go there. And then there's, in alphabetical order, each article along with a bit of an abstract with it that goes on for pages and pages. If you scroll down far enough, you'll see there's a continuation bar there, it goes on for 5 pages. That's just more of this kind of stuff. Well, let's go to the second page so you can see what it looks like. And every one of these is some kind of article about a winning ways story. So here's one that was submitted by Chris Pinkham, who passed away, last year, was it?
Last year,
Year before, yeah, like not 2016, 2015. But here's an article that he submitted. So what you're seeing there is my little abstract of what the article was. If you click on read more, you get the entire article that Chris submitted. And as I said, I can't remember if this is one of them, but some of these winning ways stories, when they had a particularly neat idea in them, I would pull that idea out, write a separate article in my knowledge base with just the idea in it, which would point back to this article as the source. Questions? I see a lot of furrowed brows. I'm not sure if that's because you don't know what the hell I'm talking about or... Okay. So I've shown you 2 ways to navigate the material. So one is by going through the things on the masthead. One is by clicking on something in the tag cloud. The third way is, of course, just ordinary search. So you can search on something like, see if I can spell it with one hand. And like any search thing, it pops up everything that's got the word choreography in it somewhere. Whether or not it has anything to do with choreography. As long as that word appears in the text, that's what you're pulling up. So if you go to the tag cloud and hover over the tag word choreography, I can't remember how many articles are in there, but it might be like 30. And you come here, you'll see an entirely different number. Here the number is 17. But there may be articles that talk about something to do with choreography without ever actually saying the word choreography. They would still be tagged as a choreography article. So if they talk about site resolution or something, they would still be tagged as a choreography article.
In which one, excuse me, in which one? In the cloud one or in the other one? You're talking about?
In the tag cloud.
I'm sorry, in which one what?
In which one would the articles come up to specific things, whereas the other one, it comes up with anything saying choreography?
Yeah, the tag cloud is the one where I have made a judgment that this article references this subject in some way. Whether or not it uses the word.
Right, okay.
And if you do a search on the word, you're just getting articles that have that word in them, whether or not it has anything to do with that as a subject.
Okay.
It just may be something said in passing, that, or tangentially. So I just want to show you kind of what this search screen looks like. So here you're just seeing a long list of all the things that have something to do with choreography is what I put in, and you get stuff like this. Here's a pointer to Vic Cedar's site. Any minute now. Oh, yeah, so I got the article, my article, and there's the pointer to his database. So there is stuff in his website about choreography, but there's all kinds of other stuff.
So it
there
links
as well.
directly to his site.
Yeah, it'll take you, well, it'll be a two-step operation. You click on that, you had the list of search articles, that takes you to article I wrote that points to Vic's website. And then there's
With
a
the
link in that
cedar.net will take
article.
you to his site.
Yeah, it takes you to his site. And you'll notice that the article type for stuff like that is resource. And the resource class is for things that are kind of aggregates of all kinds of stuff. They're omnibus sources, like this, like Vic's site. It's got choreography stuff, it's got stuff about music, it's got stuff about various articles, technical articles that people have written about choreography, among other things.
Not limited to CALLERLAB.
But it's not limited to CALLERLAB, and it's not limited to any particular subject. But one of the subjects that is there is the one that you searched on, and that's why it's up there. So that's kind of what a resource is. It's not really important that you understand the distinctions I'm making between the kinds of resources. The main thing is that you realize I can search on something by words, I can hunt for something in the tag cloud, or I can go through one of these masthead categories. And if you have any questions, go back to home, open one of those buttons that explains how to do things, and only if you're still confused, send me a note. Now, the last thing that I wanted to say was,
So is your I forget, is your contact info on there?
it is. That's just where I was going.
Oh, okay, good.
So right now, I am the only curator on this site. That's something that I want to change. But for now, if you've got information that you'd like to point me at, some content that you think would be useful, or even just a question, you can get a hold of me by, it says here, if you have questions or suggestions, please contact us by clicking here. And if you do that, whatever your email agent is, it'll pop up a screen to send me an email. So that's the way to quickly get in touch with me. John?
In terms of suggestions, Barry, have you included this wealth of material that Tim Mariner left to us that Donna said was entirely
Yes.
Great.
If you like.
Repeat the question because he's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Repeating the question. So the question was, have we managed to capture all the material that Tim Mariner left? And the answer is yes, for two reasons. One, I asked Tim several years ago now if he would be okay with me pointing to his website where he had a bunch of educational material that was really valuable. Great, it's out there in public anyway, right? I'm just pointing at it. But he was happy to have an article in the knowledge base on it. So when he passed away, I immediately captured all of that stuff. I actually pulled it off his website because I was afraid that, in the turmoil of handling his affairs after his death, that it might actually get lost. If somebody decided to just dispense with that website, it was gone. So I guess legally I was in a gray area. I downloaded everything that was on his website that we've been pointing at, and I kept it. Since then, CALLERLAB has been in touch with Donna Mariner and received permission from her to have all of that stuff available. Actually, his website, it has been modified to, report on his passing, and you can't go through his homepage anymore and see any of this stuff. However, all the links that I've got to it still work, or at least they did as of 2 days ago.
Yeah, I checked recently also.
So if you were to do a search, for instance, on Mariner, you would find all his stuff. So let's do that. This will be the last thing that we do, and then it's Dottie's turn. So if we do a search on Mariner, the thing that pops to the top of that list is, of course, Tim Mariner's education page. But you'll notice he was involved in other things like the condensed teaching order and teaching styling presentation, and he's got bunches of stuff in the recording indexes. So if you go to this article, you get that. And that's not there anymore if you go through his homepage. So this was the original index site that he had for his material. Any questions? Eric?
Yeah, you can repeat these on the mic. How many article types do you have?
How many article
Yeah,
types?
different article types.
Yeah, well, no, those are categories. Here's the easy way to answer this. I'll go to articles by type.
Oh, okay, there.
So there's a page there that really, all it does is kind of look at the information in a slightly different way. So this is the article types homepage. It explains what the articles are. And here are the article types. So we have documents that talk about a book or something of that nature. Like for instance, Barry Johnson wrote a really nice piece on, I think it was 78 pages on controlling choreography with relationships. So it's up there, and you can point at it. The Dancing for Busy People book is in there. Idea I've already explained. Presentation is for a presentation that somebody did that's actually been captured somehow. So for instance, Patrick's last presentation in Reno is up there and it's been available in the presentation thing. Resource I explained, it's one of these aggregate sites. And summary is an article where somebody has tried to collect some information together and put it in a context and point to where it all came from and where you can find things. So far, I'm the only one who's written one of those. I welcome other input. 2 more questions? I'm going to have to give you the mic. We got 2 more questions.
Eric Callerlab, Coordinator, California. So I see how you search, and you're searching your metadata, which is your description of these articles. And I can't remember if you said this part. Is it searchable down to the document level from your level at the top? In other words, did you OCR the documents out there that we could search? If I want to find that document on that chili cook-off, and it wasn't part of your metadata, can I find it that way?
The answer is it depends. If the article is off-site, so like all Tim's stuff is off-site. It lives on some other website. I just pointed at it.
Right.
So that's not searchable on my site at all. But some of the stuff, I have actually pulled the document onto my site. So it's sitting there as he calls it WordPress calls it a media article or something like that, which has nothing to do with the fact that it's media. But anyway, it just means something that has been uploaded to the site and captured on the site as a document in its own right. They are searchable.
From the top level.
From the top level.
Outside of that.
Yeah, like if you say search, well, now you say that. I'm not sure. Oh, I made her move the camera. Uh-oh. Can I go back over here now? So anyway, you had another question?
I do understand the question. At the very top level, I want to search for chili cook-off.
Well, it finds something inside a document, inside a PDF document.
Right.
And I'd like to say yes, but now I'm unsure.
Okay, so I'm reading an article somewhere about a chili cook-off, and I want to go find that article. That's all I know.
You do,
I'm
okay.
just thinking that.
Yeah. Well, you can put that in and see what you get, but I don't know if it's inside a PDF. It depends on how the PDF was built.
So you're not OCRing.
I'm not OCRing it, no. So if the PDF is of the type that has the text available for search as part of the PDF structure, then yeah, it'll find it. But if it's all images, it won't.
Thank you.
So did you have, that was question number 1.
Well, and the last one was to say, I always say at the very top, I suggest read this first, with big letters, where you say, you should read this.
Yeah, but people don't read that either. I spent a lot of years in IBM working in like technical support kinds of roles, and the one thing I learned is nobody RTFMs. The question was, why don't I have a bigger placard up on the homepage that says "Read this first"? I mean, those words are there, but Alan.
Mary, to address the question that was just asked.
Is this going to be a long question? Should I bring the mic down to you?
Yes.
Okay. See, I knew who I was dealing with, so I suspected the question might be long.
As brief an answer as I can give is
Name and location.
Alan Hurst, Sunnyvale, California.
Thank you.
The beauty of using WordPress is there are 1 billion plugins, and there's at least 30 or 40 different types of search plugins. So as far as metadata goes, The default plugin will get most things in a standard PDF. If it's a PDF that has images, it won't get it. If it's a Word document that's encrypted, it may or may not get it. It depends what the plugin is you're using to search and what's in the actual document and how it was prepared.
Thanks, Alan. Jim, you had a...
I'm just curious to know whether you're interested in adding articles from other sources. I have recently built a collection of about 35 documents that I've written over the years. Some have been published by CALLERLAB, but most have not. Are you interested in adding un-CALLERLAB documents to your CALLERLAB database?
Yes.
Answer yes.
The answer is yes. I'm interested in anything that does this. Shares an idea or an experience for the betterment of square dancing. I don't care where it comes from. So there's stuff in here that has nothing to do with CALLERLAB or even have anything to do with any other square dance organization I'm aware of. There's a newsletter article in there, a really glossy thing that comes from one of the health, what do they call the health organizations here?
HMOs.
HMOs, yeah. Extolling the benefits of square dancing as a healthful recreation. And it just talks about it in very generic terms, and these people have no connection to us at all. So wherever it comes from, I'm happy to grab it. Okay, I want to turn it over to Dottie, so she's got a shot at this now. Do you want me to navigate this? Just do it on here?
So he should be able to link, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, I have two documents, and I have given you a handout here, two sites that have come from.
You want the community dance first?
Doesn't matter which one. So one of them is coming from the Committee for Community and Traditional Dance, and its purpose is to make a place for us to put online dances that one might use at such an event. So this is everything from party nights to community dancing, and maybe a little bit beyond that, because there's also the aspect of traditional dance. So there will eventually be traditional squares, and there will also be contras that would perhaps be more than just what you would do at a community dance. So this is same, this is also WordPress, so a lot of the stuff that Barry has told you is the same here. There's your general search area that he pointed out in the other one. We have, if we scroll down, if we scroll down, we have the same kind of tag cloud that he had. It works in the same way that it did for him. Larger ones mean there's more reference to it. BDP means beginner dance party, for instance. But again, these are words that I have assigned to a particular dance as being relevant and something that you might want to search. So that's one way to search. And then up above here, we also have something that WordPress itself created as the dances were added. So as I added dances, I gave them categories, circle dances, and within the circle dances, some of those circle dances are for couples with no partner change, and some of them are for solo dancers. And then we have circle mixers where partners are changing, ones that use square dance calls, ones that have some footwork, which means they have some things from the, generally means it has some things from the round dance category, or perhaps it has heel and toe and side close side, and then something with the dancer has to do something with their feet more than just walk. And then we have contras of various and sundry kinds, lines, trios, group dances of two different kinds, the trios facing or all going one direction, and then we have square dances classed into quadrilles, traditional squares, and in couples. Now you can see some of these numbers are getting up there, and some of them are still small, and they're small just because we haven't had time yet to get as many dances in there as we'd like. I'm up to somewhere between 80 and 100 dances, and I've got in my to-do list already collected, but not in the final format that I need, about 300. So it'll get at least to that, and I'm sure that's going to go bigger than that eventually. It takes time to do this. So let me point out, so that's 3 ways to search, same kind of idea that Barry has. But I also want to point out that what I did, first of all, if you've tried to search, I don't know how many of you are involved in community dancing, but if you try to search on the CALLERLAB webpage for the Community Dance Journal's past issues, it is not easy to find one. They are all mixed up with all the other documents, and it's just very frustrating. So I have created this link here, which is Community Dance Journal links. No, the links. Yeah, the journals. So this one, so I've created a sortable table in order to allow you to search a particular dance that you might know came up. You might say, oh, I remember sometime back that dance was in the journal. So you can scroll here and see these are journals, and what you're seeing here is this is the date of the journal and when it came out. These are classed according to the different kinds of dances, the same kind of category that we had before. So if you look at the top, we've got circles, we've got contras, squares, other kinds of dances, and some articles that discuss general things about these kinds of events. It's sortable, which means if I want, let me see, yeah, here we go. Okay, so I can go to the top of squares and sort this column alphabetically in either direction instead of this one, which was chronologically. So that's what the sortable means. So you can look at, sort any one of those columns if that's the thing you want to focus in on. So if you decide that you want to look at Kiwi Ring, okay, then you would go to the left-hand side, which is where the link is, and what's it doing here?
It's trying to download it. The link has a forced download on it.
Okay. Yes, because I think that's the only way.
Well,
I may have to change it. Yeah, I may have to change that. I may have to change that. So at any rate, this will take you to the place on the CALLERLAB website where that's because of the CALLERLAB website. It is itself forced.
The CALLERLAB links have a forced download on them.
Yeah.
Which you can turn off by editing the link. But
Okay.
you got to do that inside.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying, sort of. But I'm still working on this. This is a fairly new part. But at any rate, the intention is to take you to the place on the CALLERLAB website where that CD journal is, and you get a PDF download from it. Okay? All right, so we also have, if I go back up, so can I just go back here? Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, so we're back on the home page again here, and I want to see the other one. So that we also have the dance resource table. So this one is a table of what's actually on this WordPress site. And it's the same kind of deal, sortable table, sorted by dance type here, difficulty, which is kind of a, if it's a 0-1, it means it doesn't have anything much in it more than forward and back and circle lefts and circle rights, a very kind of simple thing. And if it's a 6, then it's got more, and there's a decoder of this up at the top here. But the higher the number, the more different calls. It's on back on the main page. It says dance. It says something to the effect of dance. Yeah, this one, dance resource table of dances. Okay, so there's the decoder for the numbers. So again, we can sort by choreographer, by dance name, by dance type, or by difficulty, and hopefully you can pull out. It's another way, similar to this, but not quite the same, to pull up a dance. So if we want to look at one of these, doesn't matter. So that's the kind of thing that you get when you go there. This is the dance. These are kind of, they're all in a pretty much standard format. There's a bit of a description about where you begin, what the music we might suggest. You can download an RTF, rich text file, cue sheet, if you want to take it to your computer. And these are the prompts, and then there's a description of the dance beneath that. And at the very bottom, information about the choreographer, the source that it's come from, how you might use it, and a comment about where it's coming from. Question?
What is WordPress? A program or a format? Or?
WordPress is a platform. I don't know if that word means anything to you, but it's a system that's actually was designed for people who write blogs. So it was allowed people basically to write articles which would be published to the web.
I don't need a special way to receive it. It's just the format that this is in?
Yeah, well, when I say it's a platform, that's because it supports a bunch of stuff now. It's not just for people who blog. There's all kinds of websites that use WordPress as
But I don't need to know what it is.
You don't really need to know what it is, no. Yeah, the fact that it's WordPress is irrelevant to using any of these sites.
It's a publishing tool.
It's a, yeah.
Okay.
Switch to teaching.
Okay.
All right, so that's the one that came from the community in traditional dance. If you're into this kind of stuff, notice there's also supporting documents. We're going to add more here. That is material that will help you understand how to present these kinds of dances. And we have lots of things online to go there, but not there. Yep, ready to go. Running out of time here. So the other one is being maintained by and created by the Choreographic Applications Committee, and that's the teaching resource. So the idea here is that this is material for a caller who is teaching new calls to dancers, right from circle left, circle right, and we're working our way up through the lists. It's not complete yet, but there's enough here so you can certainly use what's here. So homepage, basically you just go here and you see, okay, do I want to call it on the basic part 1, the basic part 2 of the mainstream list? At the moment, basic part 1 is pretty well filled at the first stages at least. Basic part 2 is about 2/3 done and mainstream is waiting its turn. So can we go to basic part 1? So when you go there, you will see the basic part 1 list in the recommended teaching order as you scroll downward. And for each one of the calls, we have 7 different pages. One of the pages is the definition, one is the standard applications, and these have been extracted from the definitions document, the standard applications document. It's been reorganized, if you'd like, so that you pick your call, and for that call, all the information you need to teach that call is in one easily accessible place. So this is call analysis, analyze. Modules is just what it sounds like. It's a list of modules that you could use in the process of teaching circle left at this early point. So remember that at this point you've only got circle. So that limits the options. But we come back to it, of course, later on. So this is really very much in the teaching order. This is teaching. The other section is other forms of dance. So this is a little bit of crossover with the dances resource. And especially in the early ones, it might be a Sicilian circle, it might be a traditional square dance, it might be a mixer, so those kinds of things that are there. And this one, the first 2 or 3, I don't have any here, but this is a bit of extended application ideas. Not in a great lot of detail, but every one that has blue indicating a link, there's some idea there that would be pushing the envelope a bit into the extended applications.
Is it?
Valerie Patterson, Campbell, California. Is it possible to cut and paste or download or something?
Yeah. It's relatively easy to cut and paste. Barry, why don't you kind of pick maybe one of these teaching, doesn't really matter, anyone.
Matter which one?
Not much.
Star Promenade?
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so this is what you get if you go to the teaching page. So teaching tips, which comes from the CALLERLAB teaching tips thing, some kind of little quick quote, and then there's choreographic examples. What I've chosen to do is have one choreographic example that you would start at the top, get to this point, and then if you are calling patter and want to go Alaman left and home, then you go this line, and if it's a singing call, you skip that line and you go to the singing call resolution. So and that's pretty consistent except a few calls that are essentially breaks. We would use them on breaks. And it's pretty clearly indicated what's going on there. So it's not at all difficult to simply do a copy and paste to your computer. We don't have this at the moment in an easy direct download, but copy and paste is certainly quite easy to do. So, other questions? I know we're just about out of time. I believe this is done.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Are you sure?
We got 10 more minutes.
We got 10 more minutes. Okay, go.
One question.
Yes.
I noticed.
Microphone. John Martin from Orange County. I notice you have teaching in front of CALLERLAB.org. Are there other subjects that can be presented from that?
What, at the moment, this is what's out there. Okay, that is not to say that if some other committee, or maybe one of us, decides that we want to create another such place, it can be done. Can be done. But we're breaking new territory here. Very much so. Very much breaking new territory.
Right now there's only 3.
Right now there's only 3, these 3. But his.
There's
The knowledge base.
Teaching, what you're looking at now. Dances.
Microphone.
So the three things that are available under this kind of format of URL, where you have something.callerlab.org, there's 3 of them. It's the teaching thing, which online teaching resource, which Dottie has put together and is showing you here. And by the way, this is a tremendous piece of work, a huge amount of work. She's got to get some kind of award out of this. The one she showed you earlier, which was dances.callerlab.org, about all the community dances, and then my knowledge base, which is knowledge.callerlab.org. So those are the 3 that exist today, but obviously under that sort of format, you could have all kinds of additional ones that address other areas.
And let me just add one thing. So if we look at the definitions page, can we just go up? So you can see at the top here, this crosstalk here. This takes you to any one of the other Star Promenade pages and back to the home page. So this is the definitions page. Starts off, there's a few things here that you might not have expected to see. So I put a little bit about where it is in the teaching order, what they would know when you're coming in to do this, recently taught calls. Background. This one maybe not the best example, but I have J. King's book that lists who was the author of various and sundry calls, and I've extracted information from that, and also gone to Sets and Orders, Bob Osgood's book, whatever he has, or Burleson's Encyclopedia, or whatever I can find there, and tried to document in a short paragraph where the call came from, what its history is. Then there's the definition, which comes directly from the definitions document, and so ending formations, and down at the bottom, link to terminations.
Yay. Want to go ahead?
Yes.
Yay.
Go ahead.
Actually, going to run it?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I see the first version.
Play.
Has terminate halfway.
Do it slow.
Slower down.
Well, that's possible.
You can.
Upper left. Upper left.
Upper left, down here, where is it?
Left.
Right there, right there, right there.
Where it says slow.
Yeah, well, we got a hexagon at the moment here.
We'll do a slow head from big head.
Oh, that one's pretty.
Looks like a kaleidoscope, doesn't it? All right, so every one of them has the link determinations that belongs with it. The other pages, we can go back if we have a few minutes. Anybody else with questions? I'll just show you a little bit more about what's here.
Where did we go? Did I kill you?
Well, just put the number, just put it, yeah, just go back.
Okay, it doesn't come up in a separate window.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so scroll back to the top here, and let's go to, so standard applications is pretty obvious. I can't, yeah, I'll go to standard, we'll just work our way down through these. Just an extract. If you have a copy of the standard applications document, you will know that it's in a table. I've taken it out of the table and just done it in a straightforward manner so that it won't get messed up depending upon the piece of equipment you're reading this on. So it's just text, essentially text. Analysis, this is called analysis information. You know, everybody tells you when you're a new caller that you need to know where calls begin, where calls end, which hand people are using, which direction they're turning in. If you want to double check, think about it, whatever. Good following calls, good preceding calls. This is the ending formations from the standard starting formations. A little bit of discussion where it's appropriate about what the extended applications and the same kind of thing for them. And then the ARC rulings, if there are any ARC rulings on this call. Okay? Have we done that? Modules. Check on this one. Okay, so I pretty much looked at fractional zeros, equivalents, get-ins, get-outs. Those are the primary things. Sometimes I have additional things as well. Most of this came from Calvin's document, but again, it took a fair amount of searching, sorting, and rearranging to get the right ones to the right place. So, but it started from his teaching. All right, so teaching, I think I already worked through one of those and so forth. So your examples, and then down to other. Yeah. So here's, okay, Star Promenade, Texas Star. There's your Texas Star figure. I have something. I actually do. Head star right, pick up your corner, Star Promenade, back out and circle left, men swing the nearest lady, and because you'd have a boy, girl circle at that point. Okay. So, any questions? Anything in here you'd like me to comment?
We're just about out of time. I want to make sure that the two of you are recognizing the people that help you. I'm Mike Hogan from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm just sitting here completely blown away. I can't even begin to imagine how much incredible amount of time and effort it took to all of this, and I want to thank you.
Are there any further questions? Okay, coffee time.